Wow. It's my grandmother's 85th birthday tomorrow, St. Patrick's Day, and she's running around the streets of Youghal right now, wildly flapping her hands, saying her grandson met the Taoiseach. So it's a real pleasure to be here. And we're here to talk about networked learning, redefining learning in a world gone web. So there's kind of this is a play in 3 acts today. My job's to talk like a professor, big hand wavy about where the world's going and, be up in the clouds without a whole lot of connection to the ground. Then Al's going to come in and talk with industry data on what's really going on. And then Johnny's going to wrap it up with, and how does all that coalesce into the network that you've just heard about with the Irish Learning Alliance and this network of companies who I believe, in my own opinion, I had the good fortune of being in Dublin in December and met with the CEOs and spoke with them, of having a lot of foresight and doing a lot of research that I think positions them very, very well, not just because I'm Irish, not just because this is an area I study, but I think this notion of co-opetition as a business professor is something that's really gaining credence. And most of the research at the moment is saying companies who do collaborate to create new markets tend to gain through first mover advantage. And I think this is a stellar example of that. Okay? So, what am I going to talk about? I'm going to talk about network learning. And network learning, funny thing about it is, you've got a network to do it. So just as Sharon did, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to pair up and tell me what that is. You've got 1 minute. Go. Anyone else have any ideas on what that is? A red rectangle. Sometimes, that's what I might call a BFO, a blinding flash of the obvious. A red rectangle. Anything else? A single pixel. Well, that comes up a lot, actually. That's interesting. I'm actually running an experiment. There's cameras in the background. I'm going to start putting a probe on it and see how many of you have epilepsy or something. No, that's not it. That's my behavioral science colleagues back at Duke. Okay, I'm going to try it again. Okay, I'm just going to do one small thing. Just one small thing. Okay? How about now? Oh, no geography people here? What is it? Well, there's a bunch of Irish people here. It's like, oh, that's America, yeah. Oh, geez. I know New York, and I know Washington, D.C., and I know Virginia. What's that one? Wyoming? Going once? Any dissenters? I have to use the wisdom of crowds here, because I actually don't know. I'm from Ireland, and my geography is pretty bad. I know the East Coast and the West Coast. Is it Wyoming? Who Googled it? Anyone Google it? Just to make sure we get a picture. Okay, so there's a message in here, and the message is we always in the learning profession tend to talk, and I don't know how many times I've heard this. Right? What I'd like to do is rearrange this and make an argument that in the future it's going to be this. In the future, we're going to move from being content creators to contextual engineers, where we engineer teachable moments at every turn. And if we don't do that, we'll be disintermediated by Google. We have to really start thinking about moving beyond content and into the context realm. And a lot of what we've been talking about today and a lot of the research that these companies have funded at the University of Galway start to take into account the notion of context and how much context adds value to the situational environment within which learning happens. And the more that we can think about that strategically in our learning practices and enterprises and as vendors who provide value propositions into those folks, the more successful, I believe, we'll be. Okay? So that was the test. You all did very well on the test. Now here's the disclaimer. I'm somewhere here, and I happen to be one of those rare individuals. I'm an ENFP. As a man, there's only 13% who are F. I'm referring to the Myers-Briggs. So I've got a very strong female sensibility. My wife disagrees, but I have the data to back it up. The other thing I have is ADD. Any other people who have attention deficit? No? Wow. They've already left the room. They're done. It's like that red square was enough for me. How many? Yeah, good one. Humor's good. And the thing about ADD is, how many in the pharma industry? There's some pharma people in here, I know. There's got to be. Okay, now listen. I implore you. The delivery mechanism should match the disease. You know what I'm saying? So there's my Adderall, right? That's in North Carolina in my bathroom at home. So what you're going to experience as a result of the fact that I couldn't have a patch as opposed to tablets, which happened to be sitting at home, which means I didn't take one this morning, is you're in for a popcorn presentation. And I apologize. I also had one extra cup of coffee, so it's going to get a little hairy from here, but that's the disclaimer. The disclaimer is I apologize for the disjointed nature of it, but the one good thing about having ADD I found, given that I've been studying kids playing games for the last 24 months, is it was quite useful. I might get rid of the D at the end because I might have lost my mind if I hadn't had ADD as I tracked these people and started to really understand the patterns of how they go about learning and how fundamentally different that is from our perception of what learning is. Okay? That's proof. This is the agenda. Johnny, myself, and Al got together and we were talking, and this is what I jotted down. So there it is. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I thought I'd wait till now, Johnny. You know, because but it's pretty clear. Basically, we're going to follow that red arrow from the issue down to no excuses. I think is the idea, and there's a bunch of stuff in the middle, and we'll see how it goes. Now, why am I an educator? And why did you all fall into training? My kids are 6 and 4, and they're running around. They're not going, I want to be a trainer. They want to be firemen. They want to be policemen. At the moment, I think my oldest guy wants to be a professional ice skater. That's the thing du jour. But doesn't want to be an educator, right? But we all fell into it, and all of us, this is probably what I guess you shared at the table, is how did you fall into this profession? And then once we fall into it, we fall in love with it because of this. The vision of creating eureka moments. The reason I'm trotting back to class tonight is yes, there's some government policy and all this stuff that says you have to have this many contact hours. Carl Kapp, my co-conspirator over there, knows all about that. But it's because I might get a eureka moment tonight. Somebody might actually awake from their slumber, and their eyes might jolt wide open, and then you feel like you actually made a difference. Does anyone feel that? Is that maybe what drew you? Is this notion of creating eureka moments? Okay, now. Unfortunately.
In 1930, the Republican-controlled House of Representatives...
My reality is sometimes a little different than my vision, right? Anyone been here? Look at this. At no point in time is a student more engaged in the classroom. Look at that. But you know what? I've got a lesson plan, and I'm going to get through the damn thing, whether they pay attention or not. Look at this. So anyway, suffice to say, my reality and my vision of wanting to be an educator were a little bit at odds with each other. And the occasional eureka moment wasn't sufficient. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to go into industry. They seem like they know what's going on. So I'm going to go figure out what their perception of learning is. And I found out some troubling information. This is the enterprise perspective of learning.